Welcome to this episode of North vs South, where we discuss gaming, technology, TV, and movies. In this episode, we're talking about the new PlayStation subscription plans.
So Josh, with the latest announcement, it wasn't actually announced. This Sony eventually it was announced by Sony, but it was there was like a leak, wasn't there? I don't know if you know about that. Like there was a leak of there might be a possible tier system where you can play certain older games on your PS5, and people were like intrigued. And then they did come out and say, yeah, this is actually going to happen where there's going to be a tier system where you pay a certain amount of money and you get a certain amount of games. So you could get like PS1 and PS2 for one of the tiers, and then you could get PS3 as well.
I mean, I was always you brought this up a couple of times on the podcast, and I think both times you might be able to hear that I was a bit confused because that actually already exists.
That's the thing. They have PlayStation Now, and that covers pretty much like PS3 and PS2. I'm not sure about PS1.
Yeah, I'm not able to check PS1, but I definitely know PS2 and PS3 because I've got, I do have some games downloaded on it or streaming on it that are PS3. And I think when I was looking at Ratchet and Clank, there was some older ones on there, and I think there was even like a PS2 version of the game on there. So what do you think? What do you make of the news? Like what do you make of it?
I'm interested, but I'm kind of concerned as well because
What do you find interesting?
I think they've never really got like the PS2 emulation right. Only if you have one of those PS3s that can play native PS2 games. But I think that's only in America though. I don't think it ever came to Europe. It's like the 60 gig PS3s. That's how you tell which version of the PS3s have PS2 support. But they're very rare, and they can break they get like the yellow light of death very easily. So it's not really worth it. And then because what happened was they did release the PS2 chip inside the PS3, and they had all these like USB ports, and they had some sort of card slot, didn't they, when it first came out? And then I think they're making a huge loss, wasn't it, with the PS3? So it was just like, oh, we can't keep doing this. We're not selling enough software, because the aim was, oh, we could sell software to combat the shortages of actually the money that
On the console itself, yeah.
for the hardware, yeah. So, but then they took that out and then used emulation. They tried emulation, but the emulation was quite poor. The games that they were offering were only select games. You couldn't just stick a PS2 disc into.
Oh right, so like on the original PS3 that could play PS2 games, if you got it on a disc, you just throw it in and it just plays it as if it were a PS2. Whereas on the emulation, it was only select games that they had actually either blessed to be emulated or had done the work to emulate it itself.
Exactly, and same with PS4, where it was only a select few titles that they released on the PS4. Because what they realized is like if you do jailbreak your PS4, the emulator inside that is used on the PS4, like if you put any old PS2 game, you can get any old PS2 game to run on that, but the emulator itself, there could be some glitches, there could be some bugs, so it's not like 100%. It's not the perfect emulator, so that's why they only give you certain selected amount, and probably licensing as well. That's down to that as well. But yeah, the interesting part would be like if they do create a new emulator for use on the PS5 that can play all PS2 games, and you can just download it. Or what's been offered is like you can just select any game, download it, and then it runs off the emulator. This is what I'm hoping, but I'm not sure how good it's going to be in terms of the actual quality of the emulation compared to the original PS2 hardware when you're playing on an original console.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people they'll just be like glad you can play the game without having to bring out an old console, no matter how it plays. But I don't know, other people are gonna, they're gonna want more, aren't they? It's like all these people who are jailbreaking on the PC, but instead of just getting it to play at normal res, they're getting it to run at like HD res 60 FPS or something like that. Whereas I feel like the Sony emulators, the Nintendo, the first party emulators, they're only ever going to be native resolution and native frame rate of the original game.
Which is fair enough. But what I'm saying is like even the emulation in the past, like the only good emulation I think that we've ever seen is when the PS2 emulated PS1 games, because I think the PS2 had a PS1 chip inside it.
Well, that's the thing. How did the PS2 play the PlayStation 1 games? Because was it emulation or was it just compatible? Like, were they just actual compatible systems?
I think a very, very small percentage was emulated, I think, and then most of it was hardware that there was a chip inside. But the PS3, like PS3 playing PS1 games was all emulated, but they look fantastic. Like they're upscaled to 1080p and they look great. Like I think the PS3 is like the system. And if you're going to play PS1 games, the PS3 is the system to buy for PS1. Even like if you have a PSP or even a PSV, like playing PS1 games, they really look really nice on those systems. But yeah, just and also the fact like I understand why the PS3 games that they're offering, they're not. It's not actually playing. It's not emulation. It's all streaming. So the games that they're offering you.
I mean, obviously, it's emulated somewhere.
Oh well, it's no. It can't be. I think it's it's played off a PS3.
But that's the thing. Like, so somewhere there is something that is either PS3 hardware or maybe they've just got some really powerful really powerful servers doing software emulation, and that's how they're doing it. So they've obviously worked out how they can do it, but maybe it's just not.
Can't be done on PS5.
I don't know. Like how is it affordable for them to do it at streaming scale, but not at the PS5 hardware level?
I think the decision came like a few years ago because they bought that streaming service a few years back. Sony. I can't remember which company they bought, but they bought out a streaming service. So I think that they could have obviously they could have been like, oh, we could try and design an emulator to emulate the PS3, but because of the architecture of the PS3 is very difficult and it's very time consuming and not a lot of well, if it's just like if it's an easier thing to stream the games, then why do it why do it that way? For me, I'd rather not do it that way because you can't guarantee the quality of the stream. Why if you're in a place that doesn't have internet, say if you take your PS5 or wherever and you haven't got access to Wi-Fi, or even if it's Wi-Fi, you can't Wi-Fi is not the best for streaming. You're gonna lose frames and you're gonna lose you're just gonna lose quality, in my opinion. But you've had other experiences, haven't you, with the Microsoft?
Yeah. I actually see. Since we spoke about the Xbox streaming back in the summer, I did actually use it quite a lot after that, and it was actually quite usable. I think the strength that Microsoft have is that they already own. Obviously, they own Azure, which is their worldwide distributed server web platform. So they could use that technology, some of that technology, for having game servers all around the world in the data centers that they already own, whereas Sony are obviously starting from scratch, or buying a company that's got something, but it's not going to be the level that Microsoft are at, because Microsoft have been in a similar sort of game for 10 years or so. But it was a bit sketchy the first time I used it, but it was okay, and that was on Wi-Fi. When I was at home and I was hardwired in, it worked a lot better. There were still issues. There's always going to be issues with streaming, whether it's in-house streaming or streaming over the internet. But it worked well enough for the games that I was doing it in that it was not a problem. And sort of credit to Sony as well. I imagine the technology for streaming is probably similar to how they do in-house streaming, and I have used PS streaming app to stream from the PlayStation 5 to my PC so that I can play in here when my wife is watching something, or she's doing something in the living room and I want to play on the PlayStation 5. Both of those cases, there's rarely been any issues. I think I think the biggest issue I have with the PlayStation is that you have to have a wired controller. I just don't like the idea of a battery-powered USB-C cable in the back of a controller. It just feels like you could accidentally break that. Whereas if it was like a hardwired cable, it's a bit more resilient. When I've used the Xbox streaming app, or actually it's just on the internet. Actually, it's just a web browser that's used the Bluetooth connection for my wireless controller. So that's been a much nicer in that sense. But overall, the quality has been fine. I have tried a couple of instances of using the PS3 streaming on the PlayStation 5. What games were they again? I did Journey. That's a very it's a very static game, isn't it? It's not a side scroller, but I didn't play it for very long. I think I was in it for about half an hour. But that was because I just wasn't understanding how to use all the jumps and the flying and and everything. But in terms of like technology wise, it was actually quite good. And I had no issues with streaming or anything.
But did you feel like you knew that you was in a stream?
No, didn't feel like it at all. But that's not a fast-packed game. Like, maybe Uncharted or Red Dead would be a better fit. But I don't know if those games are on PS now. Oh, I've also, what did I do with Outer Wilds? Did I download that or stream that? I think I downloaded that one. But yeah, I think mostly it's going to depend on the play style of the game itself. Like, there are some games that are going to be easier to stream because there's not a stupid amount of stuff going on, causing compression artifacts. Whereas some games, if you're doing like Moving Out or Overcooked, they should stream quite well because it's like lots of flat colors. It's not 3D, not incredibly 3D complicated type stuff.
Yeah. The thing that I also want to say is, like, imagine if you've, like me, I was always like a PlayStation guy growing up, and then imagine if you got the discs for these games. Why can't you just like Xbox? Like, I've got Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic right next to me. I can stick that in pretty much any Xbox original, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X.
I don't think that's true though.
It is true
because it's not entirely. Xbox has a similar compatibility going from the Xbox to the 360, the 360 to the One, and everything from the One to the series. Like, they're all compatible, but not even all 360 games are compatible on the current.
That's true. Yeah, not all the. There are more 360 compatible games than
than there will be PS3, and obviously that makes some kind of sense. But like, when I put Red Dead Redemption into our Xbox One, it says, you've got Red Dead Redemption on disc, and basically it's saying, right, I'm going to ignore this disc and I'm going to download everything from the Xbox store, because and it downloads the
digital version.
So it's not running off the disc. It's not emulating. It's basically just using the disc as.
My point is, even if it's an original Xbox, why can't I do the same thing if I got a PlayStation 2 disc that is one of the supported discs? Why can't I stick it in and play it? Why can't I recognize it? Oh, okay, you have this PlayStation 2 disc. Okay, I understand it's this, so I'm going to download it from the cloud, and then you're going to play it on an emulator that we have. Great. Why can't I do that? Why do I have to pay a monthly subscription just to play a game that I've already owned? Well, Microsoft. The thing is, Microsoft. They're like, yeah, who cares? Okay, you got the disc, great. Okay, here you go. Yeah, great, play it. Sony, on the other, even Nintendo now is like, they've got their own little online subscription of retro games where people have like repurchased the games over and over and over. So Sony could easily like do what Microsoft are doing, but it's all part of their, like, nostalgia. People, like you say, people might not even have the disc like we do, and they're like, oh, I remember this game. I remember having this game, and then they just pay this monthly subscription and then they download it. That's what they're hoping for. They're not hoping for people like me or even you that have kept the discs over so many years. I have no problem with what they're doing, but
no, but you're not wrong. I hadn't really thought about it in that sense, because So like I was saying, like with the Xbox, it's like it's not playing the 360 version. It's obviously downloading the because there is like an Xbox One version of Red Dead Redemption that's been sort of like, it's not remade, but it's just been, I guess it's probably just like validated for the Xbox One and made sure that everything works. You know, maybe there's a slightly different DirectX between the 360 and the One, and they've just made sure everything works without any bugs. You know, so it's not like it's a remaster of the game entirely, but it's not fully original code either.
The only caveat to it is that if you have the original Xbox Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, it gives you you put it into your Xbox, it gives you the mobile version of the 360. Not the latest remake of GTA San Andreas. There was like a remaster.
The one they did for the phones 10
Yeah,
10
yeah,
years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, so if you put your Xbox original disc in there, it doesn't give you the original Xbox version. It gives you the mobile phone version.
But that's not Microsoft though, is it? That's Rockstar.
But yeah, I don't have any problem like what Sony are doing, because Nintendo are doing the exact same thing.
And to be fair, like just because one company is doing it one way doesn't mean the others can do or have to do it that way.
Of course not. No, they don't have to. But it would be nice, because
I think Microsoft are being nice because when the Xbox One came out, they just got crapped on so much for locking down the game so much. You know, it's quite funny how the Microsoft were the bad guys, and then the Sony were like, "Oh, here's how you lend a game to your friend and hands over the disc." And now it's like you're almost saying it's reversed, but in reality, what we're saying is Microsoft are really good and really nice. I think Microsoft just have the benefit of having made all of their systems very similar architecturally wise, whereas Sony have had quite a journey, one might say, with their hardware. You know, the PS3 being particularly painful to emulate because they made this weird system with it didn't have a CPU. It had this kind of chip with external accelerators, and it's those accelerators that they were great and they made it very powerful, but those accelerators have been what's been very hard to do in software ever since. But I still, you know, there's still part of me that's thinking, you know, like Sony own the research and development they did on the PS3. They own the patents. They own the licensing to everything. I don't know why they couldn't just make, even if it was like a physical add-on to the PS5, that was like a PS3 emulator, and all it does is it gives a little bit of hardware support to the PS5 just for those PS3 games. Because I think, you know, there are people, probably, you know, people like you that might pay a little bit extra money to have that on the PS5 to play the PS3 disc version of the game. You know, not remasters or, you know, emulated, validated games.
nah. Well, that's the cost thing, isn't it? It's just down to the cost. Like if they did that, they would.
Yeah, but sell it. That's what I'm saying. Like sell it as an additional thing. Nintendo sold the Rumble Pack as an additional add-on to the Nintendo 64, didn't they? People who wanted it, they bought it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I'm looking at and that's the thing. Like we're saying, you don't have to subscribe to these things, because it's like so just PlayStation Plus by itself is 50 quid a year. Then if you want PlayStation Plus Extra, so that provides all benefits from the tier, so just normal PlayStation Plus, adds a category of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studio catalog, and third parties games in the extra tier are downloadable for play. So that's £83.99 a year. And then the premium adds up to 340 additional games, including PS3 games and a catalogue of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options from the original PlayStation 2 and PSP. So that's the thing, that's what I'm worried about. It's just like it's only going to be a select few games, which like it could be down to them just being like, who knows, like we might know like in 10-15 years when eventually the PS5 gets hacked and then they have access to the emulator that's inside there, if every game can be run on the emulator. But it could be also down to like the the rights. Like they haven't got the rights to, because these games are so old. They have to go back and like if there's music on the on these games, and then they have to go back to the license holders for the music and stuff like that, and ask them permission to then release it again, and maybe pay royalties. Who knows? To the companies.
I mean, heck, there can be royalties and that licensing on game engines and other things inside the game that you might not realize. That similar to like when films and TV, they kind of you can buy them on DVD with the original music because they were printed at the time when they were in license. But if you watch on a streaming service or buy on iTunes, the license has expired, so the music is either replaced or it's just not there. You know, Scrubs is a very obvious classic example where a ton of music from the first 2 or 3 series were bought with cheaper non-lifetime licenses. So a whole load of music, probably about a third of the music from the original Scrub seasons, has been replaced with just random stuff. And that can happen in video games. We see that a lot in GTA games because they have so much music, and the music is such an iconic part of the series. You know, there was when GTA 4 turned 10 years old, there was that sort of like music apocalypse when all these music tracks just expired. So I think basically you need to buy an Xbox, reset it, load GTA from the disc, and never attach it to the internet. You know, maybe you'll be able to use the original audio tracks, but and I think when the definitive edition came out, like a lot of music, because it was being sold not via disc, a lot of music was disappearing off Vice City and from San Andreas and everything.
Oh, yeah, so sorry, that's £99 a year for the Plus Premium. So that's like £100 a year.
So what do you think about those prices?
I think it's way too much. Like compared, like what's Game Pass? Like this is the thing. This is
Game Pass is 120.
Oh really?
Yeah. And the only options you have is Xbox Gold for, I don't know if you can pay it yearly, but $8.99 for Xbox Gold, $8.99 for PC only, and then I think there's Xbox Ultimate, which is Gold and all streaming. I think their tiers changed around the summertime, so I may have missed one.
That's fine, but yeah, I still think like it comes back to what Microsoft have done though. Like recently, they've bought up game companies, so that you would think like in a few years now that some of these games you won't be seeing on the PlayStation. Well, I'm gonna call it like the PlayStation Pass store or PlayStation Plus store. You know, like the what's the better word?
What are you talking about? Sorry, the buying or the streaming?
The actual like compared to like Game Pass. You know, some of the because Microsoft own most of these. Like they own what do they own? Activision. They own Blizzard, Bethesda. In a few years, you can see like that they're getting ready for just to make sure that these games are only exclusive on Game Pass. So that will be the reason. It's like because I think it looks like Sony are trying to undercut Microsoft, but people are gonna look at it and think, oh, but wait a minute, I've played all these games before, like the PS2 and PSP stuff and the PS1. I want to play all the latest stuff. So why would you want? You could pay a little bit more, and then you could get the game day one, and pay 120, but that seems like a good price compared to like if you buy in these games day one when they come out and they're like worth 50 quid and you buy 5 games.
I actually can't see. I can't see an annual price.
I think it is 120. I think you're right. It's around about that price range.
Yeah, I'm on the American side as well, which isn't helping.
What would you like? Because you've actually got a PS5, but you haven't got a Series X, but you have got an Xbox One and you've got a PC. Could that also ties with it because the PC you can also play.
Yeah, so
some games from the
Xbox Game Pass was really good. It was really great because we could use it on the PC and the Xbox One. So the games, depending on what game, multiplayer couch multiplayer games would do on the Xbox. But then things like Forza Horizon or Microsoft Flight Simulator, I would do that on my PC because it just runs so much better. And then the PlayStation Plus offering, it's harder and easier at the same time. The PS5 is obviously closer in graphic fidelity to my PC is than the Xbox One ever was. And obviously streaming will have some issue loss that it does make sense to play those games on the PS5 as opposed to streaming it. Also, partly because we bought it through my wife's account. So actually, I can't stream to my PC from PS Now. I can only stream to the PlayStation itself. So this is going back again to the stupid way that family accounts on both Xbox Gaming Pass and PlayStation Now works. I have access to PlayStation Plus, to PS Now, but only on the Xbox itself. And Jen has to have played the game for me to actually play the game as well. So it's actually really, really frustrating. But
That sounds confusing.
yeah, if I'd known it was going to be that way, I'd have ordered it through my account. But I didn't realise it was going to be a problem. When you consider that I'm more likely to use some of those features than Jen would, it's kind of a bit annoying. But what I found, so we bought PS Now, but we don't have PlayStation Plus because they were both £50 each for a year. We bought it out for a year because we're like, well, it's a brand new games console. There's not too many PlayStation 5 games out there, so we'll just get something so that there's a whole load of games that we can play while we're waiting for Horizon Forbidden West. I was looking at whether I should get PlayStation Plus or whether I should get PS Now. And in some ways, PlayStation Plus looks like a better thing to do. And in some ways, PS Now looked like a better thing to do. I can understand why Sony made this decision. Having 3 tiers has made it very simple. Because at Christmas, when I was looking at which one to go for, I couldn't work out what I wanted. Basically, what I worked out was that PlayStation Plus would give you access to a whole load of, I think they said up to 40 PlayStation hits. So things like Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, basically a whole all the games. If you look on the PlayStation Store, all the ones with the red banner and PlayStation hits, they would be included with your annual subscription, and you would get online play. So you could play a multiplayer game, and you'd be able to play that online. Be that game purchased through the online store, PS Now if you also had PS Now, or if it was a physical disc that you had bought the game through. With PlayStation Now, you have access to hundreds of games and streaming, but you only get multiplayer games on games that are in the store. So if I go out and I purchased Overcooked, either on the store or as a disc, we wouldn't be able to play that multiplayer online because we didn't get it through the PS Now store.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you have to get it through the...
If it was on the PS Now store, we could download it and obviously do it there. And maybe, and I have noticed that Xbox does this, if you have a purchased game, but it's also on Game Pass, you can launch it with the Game Pass license and you don't have to put this disc in. I did notice that a couple of times. I think when Red Dead was on Game Pass for about a month, I did launch it through the Xbox Game Pass without the disc in it. And that's what it comes down to. If you want both together, obviously that costs £100. And I decided that I don't actually do a lot of online gaming. I'd rather be able to download some random games from the game from PS Now and have access to the online capabilities from that. And for £50, I thought, PS Now is the obvious thing to do. So I only bought PS Now for £50. And sitting here now, when we come to renew at Christmas time, our options are continue paying £50 a year and we lose access to all the games in the PS Now library. But we'll gain the PlayStation games, the monthly games and the online play.
That also means like once your subscription's finished, though, you lose that as well. So don't they give away 2 free games each month?
Oh yeah, I presume you only have access to those games whilst you have an active subscription. I presume that, but like we don't even have that at the moment, so I don't have access to those games anyway. But yeah, so I'd get that, or I can go for the PlayStation Plus Extra, which is £84, and it adds PS4 and PS5 games, which, to be fair, is most of what we're playing on PS Now at the moment. Or pay £100 and get everything that we currently have access to, plus online game. And that's what's really frustrating, is that we're paying £50 a year, and to get the equivalent value to us, we're going to have to pay double the price. Because online play I don't know if I'd really planned to buy a lot of games on the PlayStation. Obviously we are going to buy some games, like I bought Horizon, but I mean, obviously that's a single player game, so it doesn't even factor into this conversation at all anyway. We're a brand new PlayStation user. Like, we bought a PlayStation 5 at Christmas. We decided that this £50 a year one, that was good for us, but now that option has been taken away from us. You know, we can either get, we can go for Plus Extra, that's £84, but that's still £25. That's not 20, that's 30, it's £35 extra on what we were already paying.
You're going to have to get the £100 because you want to play the PS3 ones as well, don't you?
It's not that I want to play the PS3 games, it's just I feel like it's been stolen from me.
You're also getting a select catalogue of PlayStation and PS2 and PSP, mate.
The thing is, I have access to those games right now, and then I will lose them.
I know. That's what I'm worried about.
Unless I get the stupidly expensive one. Basically, in PlayStation Plus Premium, there's a lot of alliteration in these titles. In the top tier, there is £50 of value that I don't care for. So I don't want to pay £100. I want to pay £50 and get the second,
So you want another tier. You want another tier that's like PlayStation Plus under Premium.
That's not gonna. They're not gonna do that because they've just come away from that system. Basically, what.
That's what you want, though. You want another tier that just offers PlayStation.
Basically, the only way to get PS Now is to get it with PlayStation Plus included, and then they've done a middle tier that doesn't include streaming. So basically, ignore the 3 tiers at the moment.
I got it in front of me. I'm reading it. Yeah.
No. But what I'm saying is, so currently, sorry, not currently, because it's in place. It's currently in place now. But at Christmas, you had 2 options: PlayStation Plus and PS Now. Both of them were £50. Both of them were optional to each other. But now, if you want PlayStation Now to get PS Now, you have to pay £50 on top of PS Now for PlayStation Plus Essential. So, it's a little bit like when, so like in the camera world, if you've got like a Canon camera and the lens, you've got a whole load of lenses, you've got a 50mm, a 70 to 100mm lens. Buying a third lens costs the amount of what the lens costs. If you suddenly decide, I want to change from Canon to Sony because Sony have got some really nice lenses, your startup costs are way higher because you've got to buy a Sony body as well as the 3 lenses you already had, plus that 4th lens, which is the one you actually wanted. And that's sort of what it feels like with bundling in PlayStation Plus Essential into PlayStation Now, is that I can't buy the product I want without also paying for a product that I don't want, don't currently have, and don't actually need. And as someone who's been a PC gamer for so long and doesn't pay for multiplayer, in fact, when I had an Xbox, I never paid for Xbox Game Pass. I paid for it for 1 year when GTA 5 came out. Maybe I paid for it for 2 years, but I paid for it until GTA 5 came out on the PC, and then I bought GTA 5 on the PC because that was cheaper than perpetually paying for Game Pass, which was the only game on the Xbox I played online for multiple years. And obviously, when I paid for Game Pass, sorry, when I said Game Pass earlier, I meant Xbox Gold. But then when I came to pay for Game Pass later, I never paid annually. I always did this thing where Microsoft were really weird. There's no limit on how many £1 trials you can have of Game Pass. I've done about 6 or 7 1 month, 3 month subscriptions, and they've all cost me £1. So I've had months and months and months of Game Pass, but I've actually spent very little on it. Probably less than £100 over the time frame of about 3 years, just by turning it on and off when I don't need Game Pass. Like normally I have it over a Christmas or over a holiday, or if we want to play games with some friends online for a little bit, and we just turn it off. And it's never cost us that much. But that's also been because, I don't actually think Xbox have an annual cost, and paying £15 a month feels quite a lot. And then seeing PlayStation's prices, where it's like, okay, you can pay £7 for a month, or £20 for 3 months, or you can pay £50 for a whole year. It just that felt like a good price, and the value proposition for next year it feels a lot less. So we're a lot
So it
less
doesn't
happy.
sound like you're not gonna do it then, are you? You're not gonna pay £100.
I don't think so, because I don't use the streaming of any of the games, and the PS2 and PS3 games. As much as I would like to play some of them, I'll just have to do them in the summer holidays.
You've got them in the disc. Just find yourself a PS2 and the CRT, or even get yourself a PS3 and
I've got I've got a PS3 and a PS2.
jailbreak your PS3.
Well, I've been thinking about doing it on the PS2, but I haven't got around to it.
That's a lot harder. But anywho, yeah, for me, like if I did have a PlayStation 5, which I currently do not have, I don't know. That's the thing, because like if you think about it, it's like 50 quid, and then you think to yourself, you're looking at 50 quid, and then you're like, okay, then the jump up is then £84, but then you get adds a category of 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games. So it's probably brilliant for you, this category though. Like still, like, because you haven't played most of the PS4 library.
Yeah, but the other problem is you get the Netflix effect where there's hundreds of games here. We can't find one that looks good, and also we're not terribly familiar with the PlayStation library. So we're probably skipping games that we don't realise are, really good games, but they just don't stand out to us.
So how much are you going to sell that PS5? How much you want?
For you, special price, $550.
$550. I'm alright, mate. But yeah, no. If it was me, like, and I wouldn't go for the 50. I would literally go for the 84. Just be like, sod it.
Well, that's the only one you can go, because that's the lowest one that comes with games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't just go for the
PlayStation Plus Essential is only if you play online games.
Because my philosophy for that would be, like, if you want to play games, like, you would buy the games on Steam or somewhere on PC, like Origin or Epic Game Store, and then you can play it for free anyway.
Exactly. And as a PC gamer, that is what we've always done.
If you're strictly I know some people that they're strictly console, which is fair enough. So then, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
PlayStation's your FIFA machine.
Yeah, but I would, like, if it was me and you haven't played most of the PS4 and you're gonna get PS5 and you know how much like PS5 games they're like 50 quid. So if you've got a lot of time on your hands, and that's not a bad deal, like £84 a year, and you can play. Depends what PS5 games you're gonna get. If it's the latest, greatest PS5 games, day one, like in Game Pass, brilliant deal, brilliant. But we have to wait and see. You don't know what that could be, like indie PS5 games.
Yeah, there's been some good indie games on the Xbox Game Store as well. So.
I think like there are more day one, like big hitter, like the big juggernaut games are like. Recently, everyone was very excited for the Grand Theft Auto remakes. They weren't very good, but they were day one on Game Pass Ultimate.
Well, I think they've both been on both of them, haven't they?
Oh, really? Have they?
I thought GTA 3 was on Game Pass GTA 3, San Andreas. I think they at different points they've been available on both streaming services. I'm currently playing GTA Vice City on the PS5.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've only got a little bit of the way through, but it's all right.
But that's like physically downloading to the console.
Yeah.
That's
not streaming.
No, that's fair enough then.
Streaming would be silly when the only benefit to these new games is the new lighting system. Everything else about the games has been a downgrade. So if you're not going to have the fancy graphics, there's no point. You might as well just play the old games. Do you know, I am just reading the email that we got from PlayStation. So the silver lining is, as a current PlayStation Now member, your membership will be converted to a PlayStation Plus Premium and maintain the access to the benefits you currently enjoy with PlayStation Now. So basically, our £50 a year plan has been converted to the £100 a year plan.
When's that kick in for you?
I think it may already have, or from June the 22nd. It says, we want to let you know that on June 22nd, PlayStation Now will no longer be available as a service on its own. Now, however, something else it says, you will keep any stacked subscription period you've already paid for. I'm wondering if I can buy 2 years of PS Now for £100.
I was just about to say this earlier about the Game Pass, because and you were saying about Xbox Live, like there was people online, they were buying like 3 or 4 years worth of Xbox Live, and then Microsoft were like, yeah, it's fine, we'll convert that into Game Pass Ultimate for you, and they got like 3 or 4 years of Game Pass Ultimate.
What I don't know is that PlayStation's website already doesn't show PS Now, but this email says June 22nd. So I might not be able to do it, but I'll have a look. It might be that you can buy the cards, activation codes.
Yeah, that's probably your best
I
bet.
might have a look at that, but I'm not gonna worry too much about it.
Be careful though, because they could say, oh, what, I don't know.
They might say that it might be that any currently stacked, when if I add any more, it won't be valid. Only what was valid then.
I think the time to do it was probably when all the leaks were coming out, and before they even announced it. I bet a load of people just bought a load of PlayStation Now subscriptions. But the thing is, if you only bought PlayStation Plus, then you're just going to be on the PlayStation Plus Essential most likely. You just keep on that plan. But that's not too bad. So if you bought £50, then you've been moved up to premium. That's worth 100. So you're gaining.
All I'm gaining is online play on games that we haven't got through PS Now
And PS2 and PSP and PlayStation.
But they were already there. PS2 games were already part of PS Now.
PlayStation.
Who cares about PlayStation games?
Come on, man. Come on, it's worth 50 quid.
The thing is, though, like we said earlier, like those aren't going to be. Like then, Max Power Racing's not going to be on there. Rugrats: The Search for Reptile, they're not going to be on there. Like those are the games I played on the PlayStation. Spyro, they're not on there.
I think if you was dead serious about playing your old games on newer hardware, what you could do is just start ripping all your games, and then if you got yourself an Xbox Series X, and then you paid I think it's 20 quid, 15 quid for development mode.
I heard they got rid of that.
No, they didn't. There was some sort of confusion going on where for some reason I don't know why, but someone in the company, there was a miscommunication within Microsoft or something, so then they brought it back, or maybe it was just a PR disaster and everyone was panicking, and they were like, oh no, it's fine, it was just miscommunication. So they brought it back, and everyone's been because they said if you haven't uploaded an actual development file or program, then your account's going to get suspended, this and that, if you haven't uploaded to the development.
That's a bit silly. There's plenty of other companies. I've got an Apple developer account. I don't pay for it, and I don't upload any apps to it. But I still, they don't close it.
But the thing is, it's there's loads of people who are paying, and I would pay 20 quid, 15 quid, and then you can just download emulators like PS2, PSP, and they probably work. Who knows? They could even work better than what Sony are offering. That's the thing. And then you can get your entire library, because most of those emulators have been, install RetroArch on your Xbox Series X in development mode, and then you got your own games, so it's all legal. There's nothing illegal about it. You rip your own games to the PC and then transfer it to you. And that's what I love about Microsoft, is that they're quite open. They know what's going on. They know what's going on with that development mode. So they're just yeah. Unless Sony and Nintendo come and say, oh no, this needs to stop, but nothing's really happened with that. But would you rather pay, if you was only interested in PS2 and PSP and PS1 emulation, I wouldn't pay £100 a year for it. I would find other ways of doing it.
See, I never had a PS2 until quite recently, so I have no desire to play PS2 games. Never had a PSP, never had a PS Vita. I don't even know where they fit in on the timeline. The only console I had was a PlayStation. I've got a PlayStation and all the games I had as a child in the room next door, so I don't need to pay £100 a year to access them.
And to be honest, you could rip those games, and I could go downstairs to my TV, my 4K TV, and you could download an emulator and play it on your 4K TV. I think
PlayStation plays on the PC just fine, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I could play it on my 4K TV.
Are PlayStation 2 games the same?
No. You need a quite.
Yeah,
beefy.
I think the PlayStation encryption wasn't very. It was cracked quite early on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Modern Vintage Gamer? He did an episode on it, on the PlayStation encryption.
Yeah, I think so. Well, it's been mod chips and stuff was very popular for the PS2, and then you had for PS2 you had to block off the lasers so that you could open the disc tray up, and then you would buy a disc called like Swap Magic, and you put in the disc, and then it will stop the disc from spinning, and you swap it round for the burned backup disc, and then you just close the tray and then play the game. But then recently it's been discovered like you can. This guy, I think the same with like the Dreamcast. There's like an issue.
It seems to be a common thing with the early CD based, disc based
Yeah,
consoles.
I think it's very similar technique where there's something in if you have to like put some sort of files. I haven't really looked too much into it, but you can burn the games onto a disc and it will just read it like a normal PS2. But you have to do some sort of like file changes to the actual game to get it to run correctly on the PS2. And then there's also like one where you can have an SD card, but you have to already have like a soft modded PS2. So then you can do like stuff like you can buy like a soft modded memory card to install on your PS2, and then it will just you can basically put stuff like OPL onto the memory card, and then you can play games off disc, or you can even play games off a USB stick. But the USB slot on the PS2 is like USB 1, so it's
Really?
very slow.
Oh.
So it's like.
But then to be fair though, you might be able to you get quicker speeds if you use the Firewire port on it.
The what?
Firewire. The PS2 had Firewire, didn't it? Sony called it Sony Link, I think.
I don't think you can though. There is a slot, but I don't think it's ever been. Most people use the hard drive for the fat PS2.
Yeah. I was only saying that because Firewire is 800 megabit per second, which went back before USB 3 was a thing. Firewire was technically the fastest interface on the computer, other than the network connection. Because Firewire, there was Firewire 400 and Firewire 800. Obviously, the 400 being 400 megabit, which is about the same speed as USB 2, and then Firewire 800 being twice the speed of USB 2, popularized by Apple and the iPod, which when you're trying to copy a whole load of music onto your iPod, actually Firewire is quicker than USB 2 would. But I think on the PlayStation it was probably used for connecting to like a video camera or something, because that's a lot of Sony HDV cameras had their kind of Sony Link connector on it for that. So moving away from console emulation and away from officially licensed emulation, do you emulate at home?
All the time, literally on.
And how do you emulate? Are you emulating on the PC? Do you have like one of those Raspberry Pi kits? What's your favored method?
Probably the PC at the minute, but also I use PS Vita. You can like with a jailbroken PS Vita, you have a huge catalog of games you can play, because the emulator that actually Sony built for like PS1 and PSP. I don't think it's emulator. I think it's actually I'm not sure how it works for the PSP on PS Vita, but it looks quite stunning. I also use an original Xbox, surprisingly. It's quite beefy emulation box. If you manage to jailbreak, because you were saying about Modern Vintage Gamer, he started getting into like coding and programming by creating emulation for the original Xbox. That's how he started off. So he was the main guy, like creating all the emulators for like the N64 and the MAME, I think. Yeah, that machine still holds up as an emulation box. You can pretty much like Game Boy Advance, PlayStation, and there's some really decent ports that have been ported to the original Xbox. You know, they reverse engineered Mario 64.
How do they do that?
They reverse engineered it.
Okay.
I don't know technically how they did it. Like, I'm not that. Well, I don't have that kind of knowledge, but they rewrote most of the code so that it doesn't represent the original code, and so technically it's illegal. Nintendo can't really go after them, I don't think. Like, it got ported to like literally everything. Like, so it got ported to the original Xbox, so it was quite fun to play it on there. So yeah, no, I kind of used that as well. It's quite handy, the original Xbox, because then you can just hook it up to like TV that supports component and then like play games and emulates in like 720p. Also like the PS3 like PS1 emulation is really good. I played Resident Evil 2 like a few years ago all the way through. Like, really enjoyed it playing on the PS3. The thing I do like about emulation is, and it's kind of cheating in a way, is that using the save states, you don't have to really necessarily, like, say if you're in a rush and if I'm playing like on the PS Vita, there's someone's introduced, like, you can, for like playing PSP games, you can just save state. So it's quite handy. So if if you got to just turn it off and do something else, then you don't have to run around looking for a save point or stuff like that. You could save it within the emulator, and then you come back and it's just there. You just pick up and play again, so, which is quite cool. But it kind of defeats like the game. Like the game never really. I know some designers, like, I've put that save point specifically there so that you get this. But that's the thing about it. I do like about emulations where you can just, like, oh, I can carry on from this point and I don't have to worry about. And if I know that there's a tricky spot as well, and I know that I might die, that I might just quickly save the save states, and then I can just load up quicker.
I think there should be no. It's easy when you're a full-time gamer or a child or something like that, someone who has a whole load of time, to say, oh, like, save states are bad, story mode on games is bad. But people don't have time.
That's what I'm saying.
To die 100 times to the same boss. It's like, I want to enjoy the game, but I want to enjoy the game. I don't want, and it's not like like some of these games. It's not even like Elden Ring where dying is a part of the game. I want to beat this side-scrolling game, and I get it that I'm going to die occasionally, but I don't want to go all the way back to the beginning because I actually want to finish this game in a reasonable amount of time. Like, time is precious. You might die next week. You don't want to have spent all of this week playing one game. I think it's just going back to the PS5 for a second. Actually, even the Xbox One. So obviously, before the Xbox One, and with PC games, when you finish a game, you close the game down. And the game, it always goes back to a checkpoint or a save point or something like that. It has to load from a particular point, and it's not usually where you left it. So, like, a prime example was Forza 4. My wife was playing it on the Xbox at her house. This was before we were married, I think. She was playing it on the Xbox at her house, and I was playing it on the PC. Every time I played the game, I would start at one of the safe houses because that's just the way the game started when you first loaded in the game. Whereas Jen would start wherever in the world she was that she finished. So if she was at the top of a mountain, up by like Arthur's Seat near Edinburgh, closed the game down, went to bed, she'd open the game up again, and that's where the game would load her in because the game had some kind of save state. Now, if I launched the game, or if we'd launched any other game, then it would then reset her to one of the houses, and she'd be basically starting from one of the checkpoints. But as long as no other game had been started or no app or something, there was some kind of technical thing in there. As long as that wasn't triggered, she would start basically wherever she finished. So when I came to play Forza on the Xbox, I found that really weird because I'd gotten used to always starting from the same place, and I was just like, why am I still in the train yard, or why am I still, down in Ambleside or something like that? So I actually went back to playing it on the PC because I kind of preferred it there anyway. Oh no, I think it was during the point. So most of the time the Game Pass was purchased on my account, but one time I purchased it on Jen's account, so I could only play Forza on the Xbox. That must have been what it was. Now the PS5 takes it to a whole new, brilliant and fantastic level, where basically, unless the game does an update or the or the PlayStation does a system update, you always start off where you left off. The game suspension system, it carries across whether you change games. So if I was playing Forbidden West and I was in San Francisco, I decided, I'm going to play Ratchet and Clank. I could go play Ratchet and Clank for half an hour, come back to Forbidden West, and I'm in San Francisco still. Or I can play and I'm in San Francisco, and then my wife plays Forbidden West on her account, and I come back and I'm still in the same place. It's amazing. It's really good. One of the biggest stress points for me is games like Forbidden West, GTA, Red Dead, story-driven games that have huge missions that are half-hour long with big cutscenes and everything. Usually the first hour, usually the last hour, or some big mid point of the game where there's just a lot of missions and a lot of cutscenes, and you can't really, in the past you couldn't really ever leave them because you're like, oh, if I exit now I'm gonna have to restart the entire mission, and the last sort of like 15 minutes I've just done, I'm gonna have to redo it. Well, on the PS5 you could be in the middle of the most important mission in the game, close the game, go to bed, wake up the next morning and pick up where you left off. And unless you just happen to pick up a point where the game updated or the system did a reboot, or like maybe if there was a power cut or something, then yeah, you might have to restart them. But like literally like 99 times out of 100, it just picked up where I left off. And it was one of those things. So I didn't actually notice it at first, but then I kept making. Jen kept saying, "Oh, I don't want to stop here. I want to get to a save point." I'm like, "Do you know what? I didn't get to a save point, and I was just fine." So I kind of tested it a little bit, and it was good, and it worked. And there might be some game. I don't know if it is something that the game developers have to build in, or whether it's like the PlayStation, the system just has this like snapshotting system that it kind of like just holds the game, and it can hold. And there might be a limit. It can hold like 2 games at once, and like. Once the 3rd game or the 4th game on different player accounts or on the same player account, and they start overwriting. I don't know what the limitation is, but there's something in there. And it's just made it way less stressful about going into big long missions or accidentally going into big long missions, because that was a thing particularly Rockstar like doing, is that you don't know if you're about to do a 2-minute side mission or a 10-minute main mission. You just don't know until you start it or you're in it. And that's something emulation has brought in, is like checkpoints and save points in games that have never had them. So I played Sonic the Hedgehog on my uncle's Sega system. I don't know which Sega system, I don't know which Sonic the Hedgehog. I only ever played the first level because the game has no save states, and I only played it once every 8 or 9 months, so I never got good at it. So I never got to any of the later stages just by playing it every single day. And because I couldn't just play, like save my slot and pick it up later, I couldn't experience those kind of things. So it's nice that they do exist now.
The question is then, do you think they should, well, if you're saying it's already in the PS5, but do you think like it'll be more appropriate for like having like a button or some sort of thing you can do in the settings just to say save state? So then you physically know where you... Like, if they offered that on the PS5 for the PlayStation and PlayStation 2...
Yeah, well, that comes back to what I was saying earlier as to whether it's a Sony thing, a PlayStation 5 feature, or whether it's something that the game developer has to build in. So it might be similar to... So on the PlayStation 5, tell me if you can do this on the PlayStation 4 as well. If you go into your account settings on the PlayStation 5, you can set your gameplay defaults. So you can say, I want to play normal mode, but I want... and I've gone and done this and said, like, I want to always have invert look on, because I like inverted look. And like my wife, she puts games into story mode or easy mode. So she's done a similar thing. She said, I want games to have story mode. And you can also choose whether you want games to play in performance mode or beautiful mode. So I pick performance RT. So it will do performance, and if a game has RT, it will do performance RT. So Ratchet & Clank does performance RT. And obviously there's loads of settings like that, but basically it's a setting that you pick on the PlayStation 5, but only games that support that can do it. So Forbidden West, I think, supports it, but Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't, because it's an older title and it was around probably before they had these settings in. So it might be that Forbidden West has this super fancy suspending system, but Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't, because it's a PS4 game and it is... I haven't explicitly tested it. I only know that on Ratchet & Clank, I joined the game and I was pretty much exactly where I was. I know in Forbidden West I joined the game and I was pretty much exactly where I was. I'm not 100% sure about Horizon Zero Dawn. I'd have to do a bit of testing on that actually, and I suppose I could do that given the fact that I do have a PS5. See how it changes for different types of games on the PS5, PS4, and a downloadable PS2 games. I think is that a bit of work for me for the next podcast?
Sounds like it. What I was also going to say about emulation is I like the fact that I think there are a few emulators that do this, but I noticed on this PSP emulator PPSSPP, you can increase the frame rate, like so that basically like you just hold down like the R. So if you're using a controller, I think it's like if you're using an Xbox One, it'll be like RT, and that just increases the frame rate. So then you can just like go through the cutscenes that. Say if there's a cutscene that you can't skip.
So is that using the where time is fixed to the frame rate? So if you go double frame rate, the time goes twice as fast.
Yeah. So then it just skips. Like, say if there's a cutscene you can't skip, you just hold this down and say if you've seen it before and you don't want to go through the cutscene, then you could just skip through it. That you just go, but you have to be like careful because then you don't want to mess up your game. Like if you're playing and then you just die instantly. Like if you actually go into the game from the cutscene. But that would be kind of cool if they introduced that. But I can't see that happening. Like modern features like that, like it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like why wouldn't you want this? Like why would you want to go through a loading screen? Like who wants to do that?
Yeah, I think people who say why do you want that are usually people who are like gatekeeping.
Oh yeah, they want to keep it.
You know, and they're like, oh, the only way you can enjoy this game is if you enjoy it the same way I enjoy it. But it's like, well, no, like you've got children, we've got jobs, you know, we've got other things to do than sit and play games for multiple hours every single day. So we can't all enjoy the game in such a way.
Well, that's why it's a button though. Like if you map it to a button, so it's there. It's not like, you know, it's not just gonna fast forward cutscenes and loading.
And it's not the same as cheating. Like cheating is getting somewhere beyond your ability. Well, I suppose story, like not like story mode, but sort of like cheating is usually defined as like getting ahead of others. When I first played GTA Vice City, no, the second time I played GTA Vice City, so I'd already played through the game, but then I installed a trainer which gave me like infinite health and infinite ammo and everything. It's a single player game, so it's like, what am I gaining over someone else playing the game? Like I'm not, you know, there's no leaderboards or anything like that. There's no online play. It makes it easier for me to play the game, and maybe there are some aspects that make it harder to enjoy, but that should be my decision. If I don't like what the trainer offers me, I can just turn it off and play without it. And I think, you know, and I enjoyed having the trainer on. You know, it was great fun going through some missions using the minigun, and just holding down the button and never letting go until no one was moving anymore. Like, it's a different kind of fun to what the game was trying to offer you, but it's still fun. You know, people should be allowed to do that, as long as it's not a method of cheating that makes them seem better than someone else through leaderboards or directly affects the gameplay, like on a multiplayer game where you're like in a race or an online shooter, and it gives you an upper hand. Like cheats and mods for single player games that have no effect on the outside world, I have no problem with them. Absolutely fine.
Okay, last thing we're gonna talk about quickly is so this new tier system for the new extra and premium tiers, the games that they're going to be offering. Okay, see if this interests you in any way. Death Stranding, have you played it?
I've not. That's the walking simulator.
Yep. God of War.
Started it.
Oh really?
Didn't like it.
Well, was that on PlayStation?
It's on PS now. It's not that I didn't like it. It's how would I describe it? It's a linear game. It's a bit like Tomb Raider, and I'm not a fan of that type of game design. I'm trying to persuade my wife to play it so I can watch her play it, because I want to know the story and I want to watch someone play it. I just have no interest in playing it myself.
And then Miles, you've played the Spider-Man games. Miles.
I've started the first one. Jen's got a lot further than me, but we've got them. We've got them both. We've bought those two games actually, so we've got them already.
Mortal Kombat 11. You gonna play that, or you're not interested?
We'll see. If I come back to it, I'll play it.
And Returnal.
Damn it! I used a joke in the wrong place. If I come back to it, I'll play that game. It was a joke. Okay. It's a joke because that's a game about time travel, isn't it?
I don't know. I think, is it that space lady? Isn't it? She's like in a...
Yeah, it's a space lady where she keeps dying and
okay. I'm not
redoing that. I've not played it. No. When you forced me to watch the game reveal last year.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
That I remember it from there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You keep dying, and I think each time you die, you learn something new to help you in the level.
So that's pretty much like the only game you're gonna play from this new tier that you're gonna get in June or July.
Yeah, but that's part of the PlayStation Plus package, isn't it?
That's part of the new extra and premium tiers. That's the games that they're gonna be offering straight away.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. Which God of War is that? Because God of War's already on there.
It just says God of War. I think the new one's out, isn't it?
Valhalla.
Oh, it's coming out soon. Yeah, we have to wait and see. Like, we have to see in like maybe in Decemberish time we'll do a podcast and see if you're going to renew your subscription. Maybe just go for the 83, 84. Yeah, it's up to you. Like, we have to just wait and see how you get on.
We'll see how much we miss it in January.
No, you have to let me know how, like, what PS2 games they're offering, and is it like, that's the annoying thing, is like, if it's just the same emulator that's in the PS4, then it's just not worth it. They, like, for me, they need to come out with a new PS2 emulator that's actually, when it says offer a select catalog, doesn't sound good. It sounds like the PS2 games that you could play that's been on like the PS4 store for a good few years now, for like the last 10 years. So it's an old emulator. Why don't they just, come on, give us something that, well, try and get more games than what you have already. But it's interesting, and at least, yeah, like you said, it's more streamlined and less confusing for people as well.
Yeah, sort of, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's easier, but like I said, I've got to pay twice as much to get what I currently have. Looks like I'm looking on the PlayStation app. I can't see all the PS Now games because I don't have the subscription. I think for me, the next exciting thing is gonna be what happens with PSVR. I'm not too worried about PS Now. If we lose the subscription, we lose it and we'll just buy games. That's not a problem.
But is it worth it? This is what we're discussing. Like if you're paying 50 quid for each game, and you could be paying 84.
Yeah, but not every game's on there. Like Horizon's not on there. Like
who knows? Like who knows with this new tier? Like,
oh, it will be on there eventually. Like I'm sure it will be on there in a couple of years' time, but it's not on there now, and we're not waiting that long to play that game. Like we bought a £500 console to play one game. We're not going to wait for it to become free on a streaming service or on sale or something.
Yeah, that's true as well. I think that pretty much wraps that up. I think, I don't know if you've seen the latest, I think the next podcast, I don't know if you're interested in watching the latest Batman film.
Absolutely not.
Really?
I've seen like one Batman film from the news.
Oh, I thought you was in... Oh, fair enough.
I saw Batman versus Superman.
Oh, God. That's terrible.
Why did you say her name? Because she's my mum.
We watched that together, didn't we? We watched that for my birthday, didn't we? It was like...
Yeah, we did. It was such a terrible film.
Was awful.
It was so bad. And I've seen Suicide Squad.
That was terrible too.
That was also really bad.
I couldn't finish it.
It was so awkward. It's like you played 5 songs and all of them feel like they've been shoehorned in. It's like, okay, we get it. You like Queen and AC/DC.
Have you seen like the Dark Knight and Christopher Nolan ones?
I've had no interest in seeing any of these films because the ones I have seen have been so crap.
The Christopher Nolan films are
they're slightly older ones, aren't they?
Yeah, slightly older, but they still hold up, and they're still the best. But this new film, it's hard to say if it's better than the Christopher Nolan films, because the Christopher Nolan films do concentrate on Batman, but they also concentrate on the villains, where this one, it really concentrates on actual Batman itself, and Batman being, he's not like, he as a Bruce Wayne, he's not the most charming Bruce Wayne. He's quite a miserable character. He's actually, he actually reflects what he is as Batman, where in other Batmans, he's just this jolly go rich guy, and then
social.
Yeah, he's quite sociable to people and stuff, and in this film he's quite like just keeps to himself, and which is quite refreshing and it's good. But yeah, if you do get a chance to watch it, then maybe it's something to discuss. Yeah, there's no rush on that, or there's no commitment, I suppose.
Thank you for listening to this episode of North vs South. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to us on YouTube, or follow us in your favourite podcast app of choice. How was your holiday?
It was good, but also stressful because of the kids.
Who did you go with the kids?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
You never know.
Of course I went with the kids. I ain't gonna leave these.
Leave them with the parents and just go away the two of you?
Nah.
So where did you go?
Lanzarote.
Okay. How was it? How was like good weather?
Oh yeah, it was like 22 degrees. Like it was not too hot and not too cold. It was perfect. I was getting nice tans and stuff. It was great.
What was it like out there? Did you do much, or was it all like COVID lockdown?
Oh no, it's all like once you like the airport, like you have to wear a mask, but then after that it's fine. Like you don't have to wear a mask. It's all quite normal. It's like it actually felt like I didn't even think about COVID at all. Like nothing. Like on the beach, our hotel's right on the beach, pool, all inclusive. eat what you want. Then they had like dancing stuff for the little kids, like at night time and stuff that they watched. So yeah,
Was it like Butlins,
nah,
but in Spain?
yeah. Well, it's they had that kind of entertainment, like children entertainment, but it's more upper class than Butlins.
No, but what I mean is like you can. Could you drop your kids off and go away, leave them there for a few hours, or did you have to be with them the whole time?
Yeah, I could probably like you could leave them there, but I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving them alone.
Because I think that's what Butlins is like you can take your kids, leave them in the daycare center, and then go off and do something for a few hours. As,
There was
as
like,
adults.
yeah, there was like care like a little child like.
I just want to state I do not have children. I've never been to Butlins. I have no idea how any of these holidays work. So don't think I'm a terrible parent. I'm not actually a parent.
No, the first thing, like, so we got this taxi to come and pick us up, and he's like an hour late. I'm panicking like shit. We're panicking, right? We get there, right, and we're in this massive queue. The kids start misbehaving, and then this woman collapses in front of us and hits her head against the side.
Oh well, just as well you work for the NHS.
Yeah, I was looking at Mavi like, what do we do? Like, she's a nurse. Like, but we just like luckily like.
Did you save her?
No, but someone came and helped us, so we ain't got time. We was late, and then I say to her like, "Oh, make sure you just get the passports ready, so then we can, just get them out because they're gonna need the passports." She goes, "Yes, it's in the bag. We'll do it when we're closer to the thing." So then I go to, "Okay, and that's the time to get the passports out." And she starts looking in this bag, and she's like, "Where's the passports? Where's the passport?" And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, in my brain. Like, what do you mean, where's the passports? I can't find them, Tommy. I'm like, what? We went to the lady, and she's like, oh, can we still check in? We haven't got our passports. Can we check in our bags? She said, no, you need your passports.
How did you lose them?
And I was like, what the f is going on? So I rang my dad, right? I ring up my dad. I'm like, Dad, I don't know how, but we can't find the passports. Can you quickly go to my house and see if they're there? So literally,
How would you get? Where were you at this point?
I was in the airport,
Which airport? Sorry.
Luton.
Oh, okay. For a second, I thought you were in Lanzarote at this
No,
point.
no, no,
Like,
no,
as in the taxi was late picking you up from the airport.
No. The taxi was late picking us up from the house to go to Luton Airport.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, and then
That makes a lot more sense.
yeah, sorry. So I ring up my dad, and I'm like, I don't know how, but we can't find the passports. Can you just look in my house? So literally, he was like, oh, fucking hell. Like,
Yeah. Well, I would be the same.
Yeah.
How
yeah. So then
did you?
no, listen.
Okay.
So then he hangs up. Literally, like 2 minutes later, I don't know how it was.
Hang on. You asked a lady if you can get on the plane without showing a passport.
She did. She did. I was thinking that. I was like, Mavi.
What?
I was thinking like,
What?
I didn't want to like tense her up or anything. I was like, Mavi, there's no way they're gonna let us on the plane without a passport. Are you crazy?
Have you heard of 9/11?
Yeah. Yeah. Can we still check in? I'm thinking, why would you ask such a stupid question? But anyway, so my dad rings me back and he's like, I can't find them, Tommy. And I said, have a look upstairs. So he's looking around like, and he's like, I can't find them. And then I was like, look, give me the bag. So I start looking in this bag. I can't find them. And then I was like, what about this bag? What about the front here in this zip? So then we open up the zip and they're in the front of this bag. And so lucky, yeah, they're in that bag. So, so I said, sorry, man. Sorry, Dad. We found them. He nearly had a fucking heart attack. So yeah, we got on. Oh yeah, and then so we're rushing through security as well, right? Literally, we're just rushing through because we're like really late. We're in, there's a good chance we could miss the flight. So I'm running through, right? And then I go through security, right? And I put my bag on, and it's got like milk bottles and stuff and powder inside.
Oh no.
And then she doesn't tell me there's like milk bottles or powder inside. So then I'm trying to bag is like it's come out. I put the bag on the little belt thing to go through the little scanning, thing. But the bag's gone the other side. I said, oh, can I lean over and grab it? And she's going, no. That's right. And she goes, I found some stuff in your bag. What is this stuff? I said, oh, it looks like milk. She goes, she literally goes to me, where's your family then? And I look around me and I'm like, where the fuck are they gone? Look at me like, why have you got milk bottles if you haven't got your family? Where's your family? I'm like, they must have gone ahead. She goes, well, I need to check this. So she goes off and checks the fucking milk, and she didn't even like, I don't know. She just put them down on this little thing, and then I'm guessing she was okay with me, so I just grabbed it and just walked off. It was quite nerve-wracking. Yeah, so they went off. So I'm like, and I said, why did you look like they were asking like, questions like, where's your family? Why have you got?
You look dodge.
Yeah, because they're asking like sensible questions like, why have you got milk bottles if you ain't got a family? Like, where's your kids? So yeah, we did all that. It was quite stressful. And then like, eating food in a restaurant. It's quite hard because you got to feed the kids, and then you also got to eat yourself.
Have you not? Oh, because you've probably not taken them to a restaurant before, have you?
No, not really. It's a buffet thing.
Yeah, it's probably a lot easier than actually going to a place where you have to worry about food.
Yeah, so it's like.
And they'll be used to families more than your standard.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's loads of other kids and stuff, and then we had these pictures taken in the pool. This lady comes around with this camera, and then she goes up to the. You have to go to like this little place to to have a look at the pictures and see if you want to buy them. And then I don't know why she's like, oh yeah, this one, this one, this one, and the lady keeps saying like, oh, this is how much it's gonna be. This is how much it's gonna be. And this one, and this one. Oh, if you get 10, then you get a discount. Because the more pictures you have, the more discounted price. And then when she comes to pay it, she's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's that much. That much? I thought it was like 10p per picture.
It's probably more like $5.
It clearly says like 10 euros, right?
Oh, 10 euros.
Yeah, they're good pictures though, to be fair. But I I don't. And the thing is, I said to her, I was like, I don't mind how much that was, like, because at least it's like memories and stuff. But I just don't like the fact that you didn't know how much you were paying. That's the frustrating thing. It's like, why don't you know? She's quite, it's quite frustrating when she doesn't really understand like what she gets herself into, and then she can't really back out of it because she's like, oh yeah, I'll buy that, and then when it comes to
that, but the thing is, that's their whole trade. Is they're quite often get, oh, it's only a £5 for a single photo. Oh, you want to buy 10? Oh, it's this amount, and it's only like 60, 70 quid. But you think about it, like, okay, like you can probably get just as good pictures. Well, actually, that's a lie. You have a crap quality phone on your camera, so actually, that's a moot point. Most people have a decent phone and get just as good pictures on their phone. The downside is you're not in it because you're the one taking it. So that's obviously the benefit of these people taking them. Like, you're not going to have every picture taken by this person, but like a couple around the place. It's nice to have all of you in it.
Yeah,
so.
that's what I said. It's like, it's quite hard to take pictures. You can do it. Like, we have that.
If you've got a selfie stick or a stand or something.
No, there's this thing on her phone or my phone or the spare phone where you put your hand up, and it recognizes your hand, and then there's like a countdown. But each time you do that, it's like 5 seconds, and then it's like it just takes the picture when the person has put their hand up, because you have to literally put your hand right in front of the phone to recognize the hand. So it doesn't do it very well. But yeah, no, it was a good holiday. Nice. It's nice to be back though. I got work tomorrow.